sure my hair looks like crap because it's fading so much, but the hair appointment is coming up. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. There are over 56 million Americans with disabilities. That's about 1 in 4 people. I am one of them. When I was born, I had club foot syndrome, meaning my feet were twisted up and in the shape of a pretzel. And multiple surgeries later, I am able to walk. Granted, I can't do many of the things that somebody without clubfoot syndrome can do, but the fact that I'm able to walk and I'm not in a wheelchair like most folks who have clubfoot syndrome sadly end up being is already a miracle. And again, the fact that I can ride horses and my feet don't work right, it's baller. Disability, activism, culture, and stories have been around since the ancient Romans. Historically, disabled people have not been treated the best. We'll put it that way. One big example would be Hitler's Holocaust to eradicate not only the Jews, but also disabled people, gypsies, that was just, yeah. Another is in the ancient Roman times when they passed something called the 12 Tables, which is basically a type of legislation that was the foundation of Roman law. And in this law, disabled children should be put to death, usually by stoning. History is fun. It can be fun. There are bad things in it, but it can be fun. I'm making it fun. We're okay here. But the Romans were also the bedrock of modern day medicine and culture for the disabled. Some saw them as honorable characteristics or traits that increased morality. I agree with that 110%. Like, I know for a fact I would not be the person I am without my disabilities. I also have a stammer that you can kind of hear it when I talk, but trust me, it's taken years of speech therapy to get to be able to talk like this. But I am also autistic at the exact same time. So I have a physical disability, I have a communicational disability, I have a mental emotional disabilities. I was just hit with all of them. Hit me with all of them. Let's go. And so many of these stories of people with disability are incredibly inspiring. Kitty O'Neill is one of them. Let's get started. Your itchy. Anyway, ow. Kitty Lynn O'Neill was born on March 24th, 1946 in Corpus Christi, Texas. Her parents were John and Patsy Campton O'Neill. I'm looking wrong ways. Her father was an oil wildcatter, who is someone that drills wells hoping to find oil in areas that are not known to be an oil field. He was also an officer in the U.S. Army Air Force. Her mother was a full Cherokee native. When Kitty was about 5 months old, she got a high fever that was caused by a combination of measles, mumps, and smallpox all at once. A, how? B, how in the world do you get all of them at once? And C, the fact that she survived that? The fever destroyed her nerves and led her to becoming deaf. When her deafness became clear at the age of 2, her mother was determined to not let this stop her child from having the best life possible. This sparked something in Kitty's mom, and she went back to school at the University of Texas to learn how to teach Kitty not only at-home education, but how to lip read and speak. So she wasn't solely reliant on sign language. All parents, but particularly moms with disabled children, snaps to all of the moms out there with disabled children. You are amazing. I wish I had your strength. With her experience with Kitty, her mother became a founder of the Listening Eyes School for the Deaf in Wichita Falls, Texas. Kitty loved speed from an early age. She recalls a time when she was 4, before her father had passed away in a plane crash, that she had demanded her father put her on the lawnmower and go as fast as it could go. Now, I couldn't fully confirm if it was one of those little hand-operated things that you sit on and you mow the lawn and you go, I couldn't quite find out what that was. But my best guess is her father must have just plopped her onto that lawnmower and just ran. That's what I'm gonna guess. By the 3rd grade, Kitty was able to go to public school. Though she had communication issues, Kitty flourished. When she was young, she took up the cello and the piano and was on the swimming and diving team. You're deaf, you're playing the cello and the piano, and you're swimming and diving. I don't know how that works, but that is awesome. She told People magazine in 1977, quote, "My mother pushed me to read lips, but she didn't push me in sports. I did that myself. Because I was deaf, I had a very positive mental attitude. You have to show people you can do anything," end quote. And it was that mindset that made her take up diving. I also kind of have a feeling that somebody must have told her that deaf people can't dive, and she said, bet. I don't know, that's how my brain works. If somebody told me I couldn't do something because I was deaf, I would be like, all right, bet. As a teen, Kitty was a competitive 10-meter platform diver and a 3-meter springboard diver. I'll do cannonballs all day. Not gonna do that 10-meter platform thing that doesn't give. In 1962, her family moved to Anaheim, California, so Kitty could train with Olympic diving gold medalist Sammy Lee in platform diving. Kitty quickly became the top diver in the country and, according to Sammy, was collecting trophies like hungry fish. In 1964, Kitty won the 10-meter diving Amateur Athlete Union Championship, which set her up for qualifying for the Olympic diving team for the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. During the U.S. diving team trials, Kitty finished 12th. She also competed in the 100-meter backstroke and the 100-meter freestyle at the 1965 Summer Deaflympics. I think that's how you pronounce that, Deaflympics. It makes sense to me. Unfortunately, later that year, Kitty's Olympic dreams were dashed when she broke her wrist and contracted spinal meningitis at just barely a teenager. She's already battled mumps, measles, smallpox, which made her deaf, conquered that, swims and dives, breaks her wrist, which sucks. Then she finds out she has freaking spinal meningitis. All right, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, spinal meningitis, or just meningitis, is an infection of fluid and membranes around the brain and spinal cord. This makes it very hard to walk, much less dive. After she somehow recovered from meningitis and being told she wouldn't be strong enough to do anything athletic, she lost interest in diving. Now, this next quote she says, I don't know if it's because she was already told that she wouldn't be strong enough to do diving anymore that she lost interest, or purely if she just got bored with diving while she was recovering. Because she said, quote, "It wasn't scary enough for me." She goes on saying, quote, "I got sick, so I had to start all over again, and I got bored. I wanted to do something fast, speed, motorcycle, water skiing, boat, anything," end quote. And boy, would she do just that. We get really, really, really fast. She took up hang gliding, water skiing, scuba diving, and skydiving. She even did water skiing speed racing, which is apparently a thing, and in 1970 set the women's water ski speed record of 104.85 miles per hour. I'm not going that fast on water. When you're going that fast on water and you dip out, the water feels like cement. No. Needless to say, this awakened her need for speed gene, and she took up racing motorcycles, dune buggies, and cars. Specifically, rocket-fueled cars. I'll just take my Nissan Rogue speed car. I'm completely fine. I don't mind my little car. Don't put me in a rocket on wheels. I'm completely okay. Oh, also, by this time, she underwent 2 more treatments for cancer. In the early 1970s, Kitty was participating in off-road races such as the Baja 500 in Baja, California, and in the Mint 400 in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Mint 400 is the oldest and most prestigious off-road race in the country. One day at a motorcycle race in Valencia, California, Kitty met Ronald Duffy Hambleton, a fellow racer and stuntman. This is relevant. The stuntman part is relevant. During this race, Duffy forced Kitty out of the race when she crashed her motorcycle and suffered a major head injury. And trigger warning here, this is really, really gross. When Kitty took her gloves off, which if she suffered a head injury, I don't exactly know how she's standing up by now, but whatever. When she took out the glove, 2 fingers were left inside of it. Ah, no. I'm assuming feeling awful, Duffy actually stopped racing and rushed to Kitty's aid. He himself insisted on taking her to the hospital. With Duffy taking her to the ER, that quick thinking is credited to doctors being able to reattach her fingers. She ended up living with Duffy and stopped racing for a time. However, during races that she went to with Duffy, he introduced her to fellow stuntman Hal Needham, former stuntman turned director. What's my brain doing? Okay. That just was so much fun. Between the 2 of them, Kitty was introduced to the world of Hollywood high-stakes stunt work. And so not surprising, Kitty thrived in this environment. In the mid-1970s, she entered stunt work and began training with Hal, Duffy, and Dar Robinson, a stuntman and actor. It is reported around this time that she and Duffy got married. Couldn't confirm it 110% because it's like this, but if it did happen, it was most likely a short marriage. Now, before we move on, a quick history about stunting and why Kitty's role is so big in stunt work in cinema specifically. The earliest stunt performers were traveling entertainers and circus performers, mainly trained in gymnastics and acrobatics. The name derives from this French word cascadier, which comes from cascade, which is an old-fashioned French term for fall. Now, the word stunt was formally adopted during the 19th century traveling performances of early Wild West shows in Europe and North America. In cinema, women have been doing stunts for as long as Hollywood's been a thing, but men dominated the field. I don't know why this was a thing. They would even be stunt doubles for female actors. Why? And of course, it was not only a male-dominated field, it was a white male-dominated field. So, when a person of color had to do a stunt in a movie, the white man wore makeup. When you're looking back on history things, and in all of these specific areas that I do go down rabbit holes to be able to bring you some information, you really realize we were really dumb back then. Wow, we were dumb. In 1961, the Stuntmen's Association was founded, and in 1967, the Stuntwomen's Association was founded, and by the late 1960s, doubles began to be credited on screen. By the mid-1970s, female stunt doubles were seen as a novelty, and by the time Kitty became a stunt double, and people saw how daring she was, the old saying that women couldn't do stunts became a thing of the past. Over the next few years, Kitty dangled out of windows, jumped out of windows, and was set on fire several different times. Like, I have this picture of her flipping a car while she's on fire. Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, and remember, she's deaf. Doing all these things. Flipping cars, being on fire, jumping out of windows, dangling out of windows, all that stuff. She's deaf. and had beaten cancer on her spine. Again, everything she does, she just says bet. She often said that being deaf helped her deepen her concentration in both racing and leaping off of buildings. Like the fact that somebody can say that? Bam! In 1976, she was the first woman to be a member of Stunts Unlimited, a leading best of the best stunt agency. In fact, Hall Needham was a founder. And if it's Needham or Needham, I'm sorry. My brain just sees Needham and I just say Needham. If it's Needham, I'm sorry, okay? Kitty worked on major well-known movies like Smokey and the Bandit 2 in 1980, The Blue Brothers in 1980, and Airport 77. Kitty also worked on very well-known TV shows, such as The Bionic Woman. She was the stunt double for Lindsay Wagner in 58 episodes. And her most famous role that pushed her into the history books was as the stunt double for Linda Carter in Wonder Woman. Cue the air horns. She was Linda's double in 52 episodes. This is so freaking cool. In filming for the episode Phantom of the Roller Coaster in 1979, Kitty was hired to perform a high difficulty stunt. In the process of doing this stunt, she set a freaking record. This time, the record for the highest fall done by a woman of 127 feet when she jumped off the 12-story building of the Valley Hilton Hotel in Sherman Oaks, California. And I actually have the footage of her doing it. I actually have the footage of her behind the scenes doing it and in the episode of her doing it. Like... low-key just set a freaking record while doing a freaking stunt in freaking Wonder Woman. Just another Tuesday. Gonna go break a record while being Wonder Woman and deaf. She was credited with this fall for her height and weight. Kitty stood at 5 feet 2 inches and she was 97 pounds. She's a little itty bitty girl. This allowed her to withstand the impact force when she fell in that airbag thingy, which you can never pay me enough to do. No. Oh, really fast. She later broke her own record when she fell 187 feet from a freaking helicopter. More air horns, man. She says that when she leapt from the chopper, she said that the airbag looked the size of a stamp. That is a big no for me. No. Oh, she also set another record on water in 1977 when she went 275 miles an hour in this thing. A rocket ski jet looking thing on water, and she went 275 miles an hour in that thing. I'm not doing that. No, look, I love speed and adrenaline as much as the next chick, okay? The way I get my adrenaline speed out is that I go to a amusement park for a day, I ride 80 roller coasters, I throw up and I go home and I'm good, okay? But doing this? No! With all this, Kitty's reputation and skill behind the wheel led her to all kinds of people who were creating experimental cars that got to extreme speeds. On December 4th, 1976, Kitty was asked to drive a 48,000 horsepower hydrogen peroxide powered 3-wheeled rocket car called the SMI Motivator in the Alvord Desert in Oregon. The car was built by Bill Frederick for between $350,000 to $500,000, which is between $2.8 and $4 million in today's money. Holy Lord. Now, before we go any further, here's how a land speed record works. The driver needs to make 2 runs with a flying start on a course 1 mile long, going in opposite directions within an hour to 2 hours. The officials then average those 2 speeds to get the final speed stamp. With this context, on December 6, 1976, Kitty became the fastest woman in the world when she clocked an average speed of 512.710 miles an hour. That's really fast. It's really fast in this freaking bullet-looking thing that has wheels. No. While doing this drive, Kitty barely pushed the car to 60% of its capacity. But at that point, she had already blasted past the previous women's land speed record of 309 miles per hour by Lee Breedlove in 1965. Some observers say that during parts of the run, the car reached top speeds of 618 miles an hour. Kitty herself estimated she could have exceeded 700 miles an hour. For additional context, the average Boeing 737 at altitude at cruising speed is 575 miles an hour. And at some points during a thing that looks like a pencil with wheels, she went 618 miles an hour. I'd much rather be up in a plane going that fast than in a pencil-looking thing with wheels. Thank you very much. Okay, get ready to get very irritated. This portion is going to be long, but it's very important. Just get a pen and pencil out. Pen and pencil, that's the exact same thing. All right, look. Bill built the motivator in hopes it would break the current land speed record of 622.407 miles per hour, which was set in 1970 by Gary Gabelich on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. I've been there. It's amazing. Here's a picture of me. Here's a picture of the sign. It's so freaking cool. I love it there. The energy there is insane. Anyway, moving on. Now, Hall, remember this guy, was the one who was supposed to challenge the record in the motivator. However, he was directing a film at the time, leaving Kitty to race the motivator. Now, Kitty was assigned to a contract. In the contract was that Kitty was supposed to only break the women's land speed record and not exceed 400 miles per hour. Okay. Here's where it gets complicated, if it wasn't already. And my head hurts just thinking back to the freaking research this took to do. Remember, this guy, Hall, was supposed to be the one to challenge the Gary record. Hall and Bill had signed a contract with a toy company, Marvin Glass and Associates, who were making a Hall Needham action figure and had already invested more than $75,000 in marketing Hall to be the, quote, fastest human in the world once he broke the record. According to a 1977 Sports Illustrated article titled A Rocket Ride to Glory and Doom, which, can I just say that's kind of dramatic? There was supposedly some miscommunication, to put it simply. All right, more context. Again, stay with me. Gary, him, had set the record in 1970, right? But that was after being at the Salt Flats for 5 weeks. And once he had set the record, not even 10 minutes later, it rained, shutting down the track for the better part of the summer. Now, Hall was under the impression and just ready to go that he could be given a 24-hour notice, get to the track, hop in the car, and blast off for the record, or just die trying. That's a little bit extreme. Now, to Hall's defense, that kind of an attitude is fine for Hollywood and maybe even the corporate world. But think of it like this. Say, unfortunately, a stunt person is killed doing a explosion stunt in a Lamborghini, but the camera angle was off or the explosion just didn't go off at the right time. Anybody who has watched Transformers, Michael Bay, there's a lot of explosions and cars going upside down. Of course, this is extremely sad that the stunt driver died, but you can just simply get a new stunt person, Lamborghini, and retake the scene. That's morbid, but it's true. However, the Motivator is a one-of-a-kind car. In today's money, it cost $4 million to make. Kind of don't want some guy to just fly in, get in a one-of-a-kind $4 million car and just say YOLO. You know, call me crazy. Plus, there were 30 sponsors who I'm pretty sure wouldn't be too jazzed if Hall totaled a one-of-a-kind car in a one-dash try for the record. Just saying. So, with all of these circumstances and Bill saying that he was already broke, plus a cold front heading for Oregon that threatened to shut down the track for about 7 months, there was zero time for Hall to get there, learn how the car works, do some practice runs, and try for the record. So Bill had no choice but to go all in with Kitty, plus she had already clearly proven she was capable and comfortable with the car to go for the actual record. I'm sorry, but this is important because this is some bull gunk. After Kitty broke the woman speed record, the car was being prepared to shoot for the actual land speed record. But Bill was bombarded with calls from, we'll call them outsiders, reminding him that he had a binding contract. It is also reported that Hall was demanding that Kitty be removed from the driver's seat because he wanted to do it. Just because I'm at a movie directing thing doesn't mean I can't just fly in and just go screw it. With a one-of-a-kind $4 million car. I want to do it. Of course, there was plenty of gossip as to why Kitty was pulled from the car. Everything from Kitty and Hall were married, which they weren't, and it was a jealous spousal rivalry, to Hollywood friends wanting more press than the other, to supposedly a spokesman for the sponsors who said that it would be, quote, unbecoming and degrading for a woman to set a land speed record. The spokesman later denied he said that. To wrap this up into a lovely bow of cathartic release, Kitty filed a lawsuit for the right to drive the Motivator and make another attempt at the record. It unfortunately failed. But not a day later, on December 7th, 1976, when Bill told Kitty that she couldn't attempt for the record, a beautiful, strong, cold wind came through the Alvord Desert, wiping out the track, and by nightfall, it was snowing. So, the track was closed for the rest of the season. Plus, the track wouldn't have the right conditions for the Motivator to do the attempt for a year, if not 2. It gets even better. Plus, the sponsors had gotten so much bad press about Kitty being removed from the car that they abandoned the action figures and didn't market them. Plus, Hall didn't even attempt the record or even drive the car. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Kitty told the United Press International after this squabble, quote, "It really hurts. I wanted to do it again. I had a good feeling," end quote. One more kind of to Hall and the toy company. In 1978, inspired by her stunt career, Mattel made a special edition Barbie doll in a yellow jumpsuit with a red scarf. But In my mind, if you look at the doll and then you look at Kitty, isn't the doll kind of wearing what Kitty wore when she actually attempted the record in the first place? It could just be a coincidence that they chose to put the doll in a yellow jumpsuit, and they even added a freaking helmet to it. I'm not assuming anything. However, in my mind, Mattel went, we got you, girl. You'll get your action figure. We'll just say it's inspired by your stunt career, even though there's a car on it that looks a lot like the motivator on the freaking box itself, but we're just gonna say it's inspired by your stunt career. Sure. In 1977, Kitty had moved on to pilot a hydrogen peroxide power rocket dragster. Oh, that's cool! In the Mojave Desert. Built by Kai Mickelson, Kitty achieved the quickest quarter-mile elapsed time in auto history, with a timed run of 3.22 seconds at 396 miles per hour with an average speed of 279.5 miles an hour. But, this is upsetting. Since one of the runs was not according to the National Hot Rod Association, or NHRA, rules, it was not seen as an official drag racing record. Who cares if it was an official record? She freaking did it. Ugh. She went on to accomplish a very successful career as a stunt woman. Look, I mean, becoming Wonder Woman, not a bad deal in my book. In 1979, a film was made about Kitty's life called Silent Victory, the Kitty O'Neil story, where Stockard Channing played Kitty. Now, Kitty said that about half of the film was accurate. However, oddly enough, the made-for-TV film's executive producer was Ron. Plus, and this is just cool, Kitty performed some of the stunts in her own movie. I mean, if you're gonna make a movie about me, cool. All right, sure. Oh, you want me to do the stunts for them? Okay, sure. I'll do the stunts in my own freaking movie. How freaking cool is that, dude? Kitty retired from stunting and speed racing in 1982. She said she was burned out physically and mentally, plus after seeing two of her closest friends die in performing stunts, she decided to call it quits. Kitty moved to Minneapolis with Kai. She soon then moved to Elk River, Minnesota with longtime companion Raymond Wade. Then in 1993, they moved to Eureka, South Dakota, where she settled into a peaceful life. When Kitty retired, she had set 22 speed records on land and water, and I'm just saying, official and non-official. She was devoted to the American Cancer Society, and though she didn't have breast cancer, she still promoted awareness of the illness and encouraged regular mammograms to catch the disease early. Kitty O'Neil died on November 2nd, 2018 from pneumonia at the age of 72 in Eureka, South Dakota. Her accomplishments have inspired a whole new generation of racers, thrill seekers, and overall daredevils. Deaf sprint car racer Brett Wayner, deaf NASCAR driver Chris Martin, and deaf motocross champion turned stunt actor Aisling Filek. Most notably, Kitty's story and land speed record inspired Jessie Combs to attempt to break her record in 2019. In 1979, while working on The Blue Brothers, Kitty had a break and visited the Holy Trinity School of the Deaf in Chicago, Illinois, where she told the students that they should not regard their deafness as an impediment to success, saying, quote, "Deaf people can do anything. Never give up. When I was 18, I was told I couldn't get a job because I was deaf. But I said someday I'm going to be famous in sports to show them I can do anything." And there you have it. If you are to take anything from this video, no matter your mental or physical or vocal disability, never let that be a deterrent to you doing what you want to do and living your best life. If you learned something today, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment. I will be back next week with another video. And until then, do not be well behaved and do not listen to nobody, because you will make herstory. See you next time, guys.